Hi everyone, my name is Ercy and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to tell you about my experience reading 3 more Twisted Tale books. So if that's something you want to see, then stick around. So in case you don't know, the Twisted Tale series is a series of books created by Disney, or at least sponsored by Disney, where they take a little spin on some of the Disney classics that we all kind of know, like the movies, and they're all young adult books. I did a video a while ago where I talked about the first 5 books in that series, so I will link that video in the description box for you guys to check out if you want. But in that video I talked about the first 5 books of that series, and so this is just a continuation of that. I read 3 more books in the series. I think there's 4 more after these 3, but I just read 3 for now. But out of those first 5 books, I gave 4 of them 3 stars and 1 of them 5 stars. I decided to continue on with the series even though they're not like the best books, but they're still fun, they're nostalgic, and they're still a good time, but they're not books that I plan on rereading anytime soon aside from that 1 5-star. So I decided to keep going on with the series in case there's more hidden gems throughout, but with these next 3, I'm kind of feeling the same thing about them as well. But the ones that I'm going to talk about in this video are Mirror Mirror by Jen Calonita, Conceal Don't Feel, also by Jen Calonita, and Unbirthday by Liz Braswell. So what I want to do in this video is just give you a quick, short overview of what the book is about and my feelings towards each of these 3 books. I will say though, just in case you guys are interested in reading any of the books in this series, they are all standalone books, so you don't have to read them in any particular order, which is great. You can just pick 1 or 2 if you're even interested in reading these books based on your favorite movies and stuff. So it's not as if you have to read all of them. I'm just choosing to do that because they're still fun, you know. So I just wanted to let you guys know that. But with all of that out of the way, let's just get on to the books. The first one I'm going to talk about is Mirror Mirror by Jen Calonita. And this one is a Snow White retelling in which the evil queen poisons the prince instead of Snow White. This one is pretty interesting because we get a dual timeline and a dual perspective kind of thing. So we have multiple points of views throughout this book. Well, really 2 main points of views, but one of them is from 2 different timelines, so that's pretty cool. We get Snow White's perspective, and it kind of follows the same Disney classic where she's kind of lured out of the castle by the evil queen who hires the hunter to go take her to the woods to assassinate her pretty much, and he winds up pitying her and she is told to run away. She meets the dwarves and same old, right? But what's really cool is, in my opinion, is the perspective of the evil queen, and that is the other point of view that we get. So we get the evil queen both in Snow White's present day timeline along with her point of view from her growing up and how she came to be in the position that she is, being the stepmother to Snow White, and how she winds up becoming queen. So I gave this one 3 stars. It was okay. It's not bad. It's not amazing. It was just a fun time. But what I want to mention for this book in particular is that the twist in which the prince is the one getting poisoned sort of is the redeeming factor for Snow, in my opinion. In the movie, she gets poisoned, he finds her in the woods, and the prince is the one that saves her. And this is sort of the kind of tropes that we see with a lot of those older Disney movies where it's really the prince that's making a difference, and we don't really see that change until we kind of get towards like Tangled and Frozen and all these more modern movies, or like Moana and stuff. But Snow White is one of those classic examples where she's kind of like helpless, and the prince comes and like kisses her because he's her true love, and she wakes up from the curse. But in this twist, he's the one that winds up getting poisoned, and then Snow White has to figure out a way to kind of beat the queen. And I really like this twist because it gives her more to do. She has more of a role in protecting her kingdom and saving the prince, and she winds up becoming the savior figure in this one. So that's really cool. I like that one. I like that twist. But what I found more interesting in this book was more of the queen's perspective. She was always very jealous, very prideful, but I feel like her story was really interesting, even though I don't agree with her morally or ethically or anything like that. It's just her perspective was just more interesting, and she had more of a story to go along with explaining who she is as a character, even though her choices aren't choices that I would necessarily make in her position. But I can understand how her upbringing would affect the way that she is. And especially with her relationship with her younger sister, who winds up being Snow's mother. Isn't it one of those weird things that the evil characters are always the ones that wind up being more fascinating? But yeah, that's pretty much the case that happened with this book. But overall, while the story was nostalgic and adventurous, it didn't make me have any feelings as far as wanting to reread it. It was just kind of like I visited it, I had a good time, and I'm moving on to the next one. Like, it was just okay. It was fun while it lasted, you know? From there, I jumped into Conceal, Don't Feel, also by Jen Calonita. And this one is a Frozen retelling. And the twist in this one is, what if Anna and Elsa never met? Now, before I get into the book, let me just talk about Frozen real quick. Having a young toddler, well, now she's 4. Either way, she's little. Best believe I have seen this movie. I have seen Frozen. I have seen the sequel. I have seen the Lego animation of it. I have seen the Olaf shorts. I've seen all of them multiple times. And I will say, I am not going to pretend like I'm a hater. This is a really great story. I love the Frozen movies. Like, I don't mind her watching this one because it's about familial bonds, trying to reconnect with your family, how you try to get over grief. I feel like the story in this one is really compelling, and I mean, it's still fun because, you know, it's made for kids, but I feel like the story is really great in this one, especially, and the scenes where she's like, do you want to build a snowman? That's like the saddest song ever, and it's, you know, it's very playful. Do you want to build a snowman, right? It's very playful, but it's such a sad song. I feel like the over-marketing of this franchise has made it so that other people kind of dislike this. Like, they see Anna and Elsa and they're like, oh my god, here they go again. But it's actually a really great movie. So it is kind of juvenile, you know, with Olaf and all that stuff, but I feel like the movies are really great anyways. But it's one of the more modern ones where we see this change in the female protagonist, where they're not compelled by love or some boy. They're kind of on a mission on their own, either to learn about themselves, rediscover who they are, or embrace the powers that they have. More familial bonds and love can kind of be an add-on, but not necessarily the focus. And that's what I really like about these more modern Disney movies. I think they're great. And for this reason, even though the retelling may have been more on the juvenile side with the addition of Olaf and some of his classic sayings like, I like warm hugs, you know, like, it's really like on the younger side. This still was a great book in terms of being nostalgic and fun, adventurous. The twist was really, the way that they incorporated it was really great, because Anna is sent to live somewhere else while Elsa believes that she's an only child, until they're kind of compelled to want to join together. And the reasons why they're separated and everything is one of those things that's revealed within the book, so I won't say why, but it was still like fun, you know? I gave this one 3 stars as well. The last and most recent book that I'm going to talk about is Unbirthday by Liz Braswell. And this final one is an Alice in Wonderland retelling, in which the twist is, what if Wonderland was in peril and Alice was very, very late? So this one, I won't lie, kind of put me in a reading slump when it came to audiobooks. Not necessarily my physical books, but on the audiobook side. I still gave it 3 stars because it wasn't bad. It wasn't great, but it took me about a month to listen to this one. It didn't hold my interest as much as I had wanted it to. And I would go days without listening to any audiobooks. Like, whenever I walked my dog, I would just be walking in silence. or I was listening to the Adele album, because that also came out. That might be another reason why it took me so long, because Adele just kind of took over everything. But yeah, it did take me a while to read this one. Like, I didn't have that pull to put the music aside and just listen to the book and finish it out. Like, it took me a long time to read this one. And it wasn't really as if it was the book's fault. Maybe it might have been the book's fault. It just didn't hold my interest as much as I had wanted it to. But this one doesn't change much about the Alice in Wonderland story in terms of the original story, movie, book. We kind of pick up later on when Alice is 18 years old. So she had already visited Wonderland, already had her experiences with all the characters that we know, the Cheshire Cat, Mad Hatter, the Dodo, everyone, the Caterpillar, everyone. Like, she met them all, had her experience, came back to the real world. But yeah, she's 18, she picked up photography. She's not like other girls in society where their kind of goal is to meet a man in society so they can marry, have babies, be a woman of society kind of thing, right? Bridgerton vibes. But she's not interested in those kind of things. She's very quirky and just different. Alice soon finds herself being called back into Wonderland by the Wonderlandians as the queen, the evil queen or the Red Queen, has become so utterly out of control, and she is killing everyone and taking all their toys. So with this book, we get a lot of back and forth between the real world England and Alice going into Wonderland. But what's really interesting is that in the moments where we are in England, we get a lot of political commentary about how immigrants are being treated separate from people who are English. So again, I have mixed feelings about this one. I was equally frustrated and amused by the logic and nonsense of Wonderland. Things don't make sense, but they make sense to them, and it was hard to follow along as a reader. And I know it's supposed to have this whimsical characteristic to it, but when things are revealed all the way at the end, it's kind of frustrating because you're just going through all of this nonsense. Things don't make sense over and over again, and then at the end you're like, okay, it sort of kind of makes sense, and that's sort of the point of Wonderland. But it was just a little frustrating. But I think the point is to just kind of go along with it on the ride and not really focus on it making that much sense, but trying to pick up how the things in Wonderland kind of relate to the things that are in Alice's England is sort of what the point of the book was, I think. It did have a lot of dark moments, which was really surprising, and I feel like that's one of the things with all of these books. They are targeted to young adults, and they use the Disney story as like the overall framework, but they really throw in a lot of dark moments throughout these stories. So, I mean, in this one, we got genocide going on. Like, what? This is crazy. It was really dark during a lot of it, but it was still very whimsical. And again, it's not bad. I really think I was just distracted by other things, and it just didn't hold my interest as much as some of the other books may have. But yeah, like the other ones, I gave this one 3 stars as well. But what's next for me in the series? So as far as what I have next in the series itself, there are 4 more books I have yet to read. I've recently just downloaded to my phone Straight On Till Morning, also by Liz Braswell, and this one is a Peter Pan retelling. I believe after that I'm going to try to get a hand on So This Is Love by Elizabeth Lim, and this one is a Cinderella retelling. And then after I read those 2, I'll give you guys another update, and then I'll probably move on to the final 2 books if they don't release a 3rd one after that. But the next 2 I think is a Hercules retelling and a Rapunzel or Tangled retelling. But have you guys read any of these books? Let me know what you think of them. Again, my overall attitude towards these books is that they're nostalgic, they're fun, they're whimsical. Not the greatest books, but they're still a good time. I can see the appeal for these books, obviously because I'm reading through the whole series, but it's not books that I'm going to be having these huge existential thoughts. They're just more pleasure reads, if anything. But let me know what you guys think of these books. If you've read them, if you have any interest in reading them, I'd be curious to know what you think. The comment section is open for any and all thoughts on any of these books or any other books that you want to talk about. So with that, I'm going to end the video here. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, subscribe if you want to see more. I hope you all have an amazing day, and I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.